Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. I'm Jim Tracy from the Rotary Club of South Sacramento, and it's my honor to present this year's Remembrance program as we celebrate the lives of 55 of our Rotary brothers and sisters who have died since our last celebration 2 years ago. I am very thankful to the 23 club presidents and others who provided the photos and information to make this program possible. In this COVID year, it was not an easy assignment, but they handled it well. Thank you, club presidents. Because there are so many to celebrate, I asked the presidents for comments about those being honored this morning to help get us acquainted with them. Who were they? What made them special to the folks in their club? What made them unmistakably unique? So instead of citing their ages, years, and offices in Rotary and Paul Harris Fellowships, it is my goal to introduce you to each of them. Before I start the roll call, I'd like to share a few facts and figures that I found interesting. Based on the age of these men and women, joining and staying in Rotary raises your chances of living a long life. 23 lived past the ripe old age of 90, and 2 lived to 100. Herb Rodabaugh of the Sacramento Club, and Tony Sticks Bellisera of Lincoln Rotary. Many were veterans of military service dating back to Korea, and at least 8 served in World War II and may well be the last veterans from the Greatest Generation. Many had been club presidents, and at least 3 had served as assistant district governors. And one, Christia Faltrick of South Sacramento, was among the first 8 women to join Rotary in District 5180 in 1988, and she stayed until her passing in 2020. Now let's start the roll call. From the Rotary Club of Arden Arcade, Agnes Anderson. A power couple during the club's early years, Walter and Agnes Anderson gave generously to Rotary. Even after Walter's death, Agnes continued to inspire other club members as she advocated actively for education for those in need and continued to give strong support to Rotary service. James Reese. An outstanding physician, Dr. Jim Reese joined Rotary in the club's early days and had perfect attendance for over 30 years. He loved classical music, played the trumpet beautifully, and documented the family's worldwide travels with his Hasselblad camera. Jack Worthington. The Worthingtons and Andersons traveled the world together, attending 7 Rotary conventions. Jack led a group study exchange team to Denmark and served as the district GSE chair. He and Walter Anderson interviewed and mentored many new members to the club. From the Rotary Club of Carmichael, Hamid Ahmadi. Dr. Hamid Ahmadi was a true educator. His passion for learning, his kindness and generosity touched many people and made a difference in people's lives. Doug Holland. Blessed with a warm, resonant voice and singing talents, Doug had a varied career in public service, culminating in serving 27 years in the California legislature, where he helped shape significant water policy and child protection laws. He loved road trips, a good cigar, his Giants and 49ers, and his country. From the Rotary Club of Citrus Heights, J. Marcus Hadley. As a conscientious objector during World War II, Mark moved west and stayed. He was a 52-year perfect attendance Rotarian in 4 clubs and president of 2. He and his wife hosted dozens of RYE students. His quick wit and warm smile won him many friends, and he reminded everyone that Rotary provided the opportunity to combine fellowship and service with fun. From the Rotary Club of East Sacramento, John Lionachis. John was a quiet person, but a great and kind person, willing to always help anyone in need. John absolutely loved Rotary and his East Sacramento Rotary family. He will be deeply missed. May his memory be eternal. R.I.P. John. Rest in peace. From the Rotary Club of Elk Grove, Carol Davis. Carol was the most generous and gracious woman. Despite surviving an horrific accident, she worked tirelessly to provide artificial arms to children and gift wrapping holiday gifts for developmentally disabled children. And Carol had a great laugh, despite not being a big talker. From the Rotary Club of Fair Oaks, Joe Heriza. Joe's secret to life was make moments count, sustain and promote deep connections with friends and family, which he did with a twinkle in his eye. Joe is best remembered for overseeing the club's support for veterans' admissions to Bella Vista Del Campo football games and his unbridled enthusiasm at Rotary events. From the Rotary Club of Folsom, Patrick Maxfield. A 30-year Rotarian, Patrick was club president in 2002 and 3, and he was known for starting the 3-year Rotary Centennial project of building benches on the Folsom bike trails. The Folsom High School Interact Club was formed during his presidency. Phil Mosinger. Phil joined the Rotary Club in 1957, served as president in 63-64, and was a multiple Paul Harris Fellow. For many years, Phil had near-perfect attendance and owned Pioneer Hardware in Folsom. Bob Quinlan. Bob was famous for his leadership of a Rotary project in Peru to provide shelter and new homes for earthquake victims. It was during his presidential year in 2007 and 8 that Folsom Rotary was Best Large Club in District 5180. Orville Weggett. Orville joined the club in 1957, just 4 years after the club was chartered, served as president in 1960 and 61, and was a multiple Paul Harris Fellow. He put on the best 4th of July parade in Folsom. Dave West. He is best remembered for the Dave West Partnership for Tomorrow Youth Leadership Conference and for his high ethical standards, commitment, generosity, and loyalty to his family. From the Rotary Club of Foothill Highlands, Mary Lee Monaghan. Mary Lee was a multiple years past president and longtime board member, serving in several positions. She was an amazing member in supporting the club with passion, enthusiasm, and grace. She was a dedicated Rotarian. From the Rotary Club of Historic Folsom, Ken Sheffer. Ken inspired everyone with his warmth and selflessness. A certified sommelier, Ken introduced wine tasting and wine education evenings as a tool for attracting new members. All who attended had a great time and got acquainted with the wines of many different countries. Ken will always be remembered for this education. From the Rotary Club of Laguna Sunrise, Russ Croco. Russ was known to his club as the Teen Whisperer. He was the executive director of the Elk Grove Local Teen Center, served as Youth Services Chair, and was a tireless advocate for disadvantaged youths. He was the club's nonprofit foundation guru, and he loved wine and hunting. Ken Potts. Ken was ever the handyman. A contractor by day, he was in charge of most projects for seniors and headed up the park bench repainting project. While he was reserved, mostly, he was often very funny during service projects. From the Rotary Club of Lincoln, Steve Archer. Steve was active in politics and journalism, encouraging high school students to become journalists and writers. He was passionate about writing, education, and children's access to books and literature. Steve always had a smile for everyone and would often say, "Smiles are free and people need them." Tony Sticks Bellisera. He was in an ecstatic zone when he played drums, always with glee and talent. From playing for General Eisenhower during World War II and drumming down the Champs-Élysées at the liberation of Paris, to the Sacramento Jazz Society later on, he also enjoyed his Rotary family and was the best event cashier ever, always with perfection. He celebrated his 100th birthday with the club. From the Rotary Club of Marysville, David Emler. A merchant marine in his youth, he was a longtime TV salesman. A Marysville Rotarian for over 50 years with perfect attendance, Dave was still attending club meetings at age 91. Louis Madrid. Louis was always joking, always smiling, and you always wanted to be around him. Jim Roby. Jim was always positive and upbeat and never caught without a smile. He was loved by all. Leo Trombotory. After a long and honored career with the California Department of Transportation, including 5 years as the statewide director, Leo was an emeritus member of Peachtree Country Club in Yuba City. Ray Winton. A civil engineer at Caltrans for 40 years, Ray found space in his life for Rotary while he wasn't playing golf at Peachtree in his retirement and loving travel, the 49ers, and Facebooking with his grandchildren. Ray will be remembered for his wit, honesty, simple pleasures, and love of nature. From the Rotary Club of Orangevale, Jane Wise. Jane was a practitioner of the culinary arts, a wine enthusiast, and an avid reader. In addition to Rotary, she supported Friends of the Orangevale Library and the Elder Law and Disability Rights Center, and how she loved her Giants, Niners, and the Kings, and followed them all faithfully. From the Rotary Club of Passport 1, Ellie Chambers. After Ellie's husband of 70 years died, she moved to be closer to Dwight and Joanne, and of course they invited her to Rotary events. She donated to the club. One day she said, "Heck, I'm doing everything with the club, so I might as well join them." She earned a Paul Harris Fellowship in her year as Rotarian. From the Rotary Club of Point West, Al Howenstein. After a long career in law enforcement and the security industry, Al managed nonprofit organizations, including Sacramento Crime Stoppers. In his rich baritone voice, Al loved to share travel tales while enjoying good food and wine. He was devoted to family, friends, and community service. No one had a voice like Al's. From the Rotary Club of Rancho Cordova, Ross Mccarty. Ross was famous for his great sense of humor and a big heart. From the Rotary Club of Roseville, Jim Gray. The former mayor of Roseville, Jim was also deeply involved in the Placer County SPCA for decades. He always made everyone feel welcome, especially new members. One club past president testifies that she wouldn't have stayed in Rotary were it not for Jim. She added, "I miss him all the time, and he's cringing in heaven over our horrible birthday song. His poker skills will live in infamy." From the Rotary Club of Sacramento, George Basie. Brilliant and debonair, this 1980 and 81 club president laid the legal groundwork for the club's foundation, now 50 years old and surpassing $4 million. Donald Brown. Dr. Brown rarely missed a meeting, even in poor health, and his legacy endures as a club immortal through an estate gift. J.D. Dannenfelser. J.D.'s expert, energetic orchestration of multimedia at the club's Centennial Bash was an enduring contribution. Ernest Farrington. Ernie's club presidency is fondly remembered for the witty, fictitious telegrams he received from world leaders. Jack France. A music lover, Jack was a fan of the club's big band, the Rotary Rooters. Edwin Gravitas. Gentlemanly in every respect, Ed's jewelry expertise endures in the club's iconic Eddie Mulligan pin. Robert Hall. In a club populated with Cal and Stanford grads, Bob energetically championed his beloved Arizona Wildcats. Cy Johnson. Cy's sly, dry humor was complemented by his generosity as an Eddie Mulligan and Paul Harris Fellow. Skip Lawrence. Flashing a smile worthy of a dentist, Dr. Skip's upbeat demeanor buoyed his presidency, and afterward he long led the club's blood donation effort. Maynard Nelson. For any hands-on project, the club could count on Maynard's dedicated efforts. Ken Noack. Curious about everything, Ken Sr. regaled club members with stories of his exotic world travels, and his prolific photography was proof of the globetrotting. Enlo Osi. A giant in the community, Enlo preferred to keep quiet his abundant Rotary generosity. Nian Roberts. Nian loved to talk Cal athletics, and his community spirit is evidenced in the Arden Little League complex that bears his name. Herb Rodabaugh. As club president, Herb launched the club's black tie fundraiser, Bids for Kids, which ran from 1985 to 2013 and raised millions of dollars for local charities. Paul Stone. Paul's kind smile was as much a club hallmark as was his exquisite piano playing at club wine receptions for 4 decades. From the Rotary Club of South Placer, Ron Adams. South Placer was Ron's 3rd club in the district, and he was president of 2 of them, including South Placer in 2018 and 19. He had worked to create Community Straw, a water purification system distributed to schools in Kenya. Ron was an avid bridge player and an actor in local community theaters. Ron Bryant. Ron was a longtime instructor and administrator at Sierra College, a dedicated Rotarian for many years, and a grandfather enjoying his retirement with family. From the Rotary Club of South Sacramento, Christia Faltrick. Passion and energy were Christia's hallmarks. A huge supporter of Shelterbox and donor of her free architectural service, for example, to Horses Healing Heroes, when they needed a horse shelter design. She will always be remembered for her friendliness, kindness, caring, joy in service, and her unique jewelry and clothing designs. Bud Revisa. Bud was ever the gentleman, happy, smiling, and quiet-mannered, but he was so passionate about helping others. He is best known for serving the Moral Values program and co-founding our club's charitable foundation. His version of a cuss-out was to tell you that you are full of beans, or in parting, he often told you, as the Irish say, arrivederci. From the Rotary Club of Walnut Grove, Jim Gualco. A past president of Walnut Grove Rotary, Jim was a Rotarian for 63 years and is remembered for his robust sense of humor. From the Rotary Club of West Sacramento, Tim Carnahan. Tim was very creative and did everything well. Under his editorship, the West Sac Club's bulletin was best in the district several times, and he lived by the motto, "Never let the truth get in the way of a good story." Tim served as the club's chaplain for nearly 20 years and was almost always the first to ask a question of guest speakers. Ike Parsons, seldom missing a Rotary meeting during his 56 years in the club. Ike was a longtime Meals on Wheels volunteer. He was loved and renowned for the questions he asked of the club's speakers and frequently made them wonder why they even came, but always put the entire audience, including the speaker, in stitches of laughter. Dick Uno, a longtime school principal, Dick was a natural to spawn youth services programs in the club, RILA, eyeglasses for needy children, and the club's very successful scholarship and vocational awards programs in local high schools. Whether it was through better vision or scholarships that changed a life, Dick made a difference. From the Rotary Club of Yuba City, Jim Buchan. Jim is best remembered for the 8th grade career fair at Yuba College, barbecue dinners for the Every 15 Minutes program, providing highly respected induction programs for new Rotarians, and the bridge building contest. Dave Gonzalez. David Speedy Gonzalez was a great cook on Rotary ski trips, and he was on 3 separate trips to Cabo San Lucas to provide cash donations, an ambulance, a fire truck, hospital beds and equipment, oxygen tanks, and clothing to an orphanage, school, and hospital. Before we wrap it up, I need to mention one more person who is no longer with us. Elise Fong touched our lives as the district's First Lady in 2015 and 16 when Glenn was the governor, and we got to know and love her. Never have so many chocolate chip cookies been baked and sold for such a great cause. Our hearts go out to you, Glenn and Sarah and Katie. Now please sound taps.